all, I was impressed by the work done by the peer team. I've been personally involved in it by Julia calling me on the strangest days of times of day to get some data that I didn't even know that we had in our company for her to get things done. And it's really something that really impressed me how hard they worked to get these results. So that's very good. What always surprises me in this kind of thing is that there's almost a joyful feeling that we've worked together so nicely. I have to say my experience is not different in any project that we were in. I can mention the SOAP project and the many experiments that we did with libraries and funders to see if we can get common ground in this discussion and implementation of open access. So it's very good that we have such a nice cooperation again. But I also think it's not that special. This is the way we have to go, and I'm very glad that it is being said again. So that's very positive. I have to say, in these discussions, we're sitting a little bit on two legs, because we have, of course, our open access publisher, who in principle is glad with everything that stimulates open access in general. And so there, the outcomes of green or gold or whatever color you want to give it is fine. Environment Central is always there to get more open access content in. So there we are already in a world where open access is fully in our interests. And I think Springer, as the brand Springer, is also totally in having that interest. Because everybody understands and is, I think, in agreement that open access is there to stay. We said that 10 years ago, and I think we say it now very seriously, and we all agree upon it. And we are all having very much programs to make that happen. And of course, we have to figure out how to exactly do the transition. That is the problem that we face at the moment. And Peer has made very clear that problem is not trivial. It's something that is really difficult to do. The interesting thing is that Chris said it, maybe we should standardize the stage 2 document more, and then the depositing will be easier, and etc. etc. Well, we have that already. It's the published version. And the published version is there to be the version of record that can be used for all these things that you want to do with the stage 2 version. So why not take that and discuss how we can take that version and make that available with open access, if that applies for the funder, the author, or whatever. So then we don't spend all this money on trying to figure out again standardized input for thousands of repositories all over the world. It won't get better if we get to the smaller publishers. I can promise you that it's a hard job to do that, and we might be even caught up by reality that in the end people don't even want it anymore, but are already working on the next thing that's happening in scholarly communication. Anyway, because open access is only one of the discussions, and I'm very glad that it's here. Of course, it's very central, but in the total discussion, it's not that central anymore. It's actually only the business model. That's the thing that Springer really wants to state. And there's so many more interesting things happening. What's happening to peer review? What's the influence of social media on communication, on scholarly communication in general, in the long term? And let's not forget, because of this open access discussion, let's not forget to talk about that also, because that might be, in the end, much more important than the whole business model about making journal articles. Who knows if they will exist in 20 years, to make journal articles at this moment available. So that's my personal take on it. Therefore, I would also say further research. Yes, of course, we always should do further research and further experiments, etc., etc. Very important. But on the other hand, let's just start doing it. That's the best way of seeing if it works, and then tweak it in the meantime. Then not try to figure out upfront how we have to do everything, because again, we will be caught up by reality in the end. What was the other questions? Well, I think that's what I wanted to say, more or less.
I have another question.
Yeah.
I have another question. You introduced open choice in Springer. So you have one division that is really doing open access as it is, completely open access. And you have the facility to accept paid articles in the normal range of printed journals. Are you willing to share any experience with us? How is that taking up?
Yeah, take-up was the first years quite slow, but I have to say it gets more and more successful. And it is a model that apparently for some authors works. And I think it's also a nice transition model, because I think one of the issues with open access is that there's too little outlets for open access articles available. So that people cannot, if they want to publish open access, there is no journal that they can publish it. But with the hybrid model, you kind of transition into a phase where the real open access journals can develop themselves. And that's exactly what we do with Springer Open, where we develop new open access journals that are not hybrid, but only open access. And that's one of the ways you could go. I don't say this is the way we chose. And of course there might be other ways, but I think open choice is successful. And as long as we make sure that in the end we kind of reconsolidate it with the subscription money, I think it's one of the ways to do the transition.
Okay, thank you.